Hello to all. Welcome to the Wikidata Lab number 30. We will be presenting the Wikidata Lab about the round-tripping process for Tainacan, and I'll present Dalton shortly. This Wikidata Lab is a part of a series of presentations, and this event is organized by the WIki Movimento Brasil user group, the Tainacan project, and the Museu Paulista, Museu de Ipiranga, and in partnership with Banco do Brasil Foundation, and with the support of the University of São Paulo and the Foundation, Support Foundation for the University of São Paulo. I think we can begin. I'll introduce Dalton that will present to us the round-tripping process in the perspective of Tainacan. Welcome, Dalton.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm talking from Brasilia, in Brazil. It's very nice and very cool to be in contact with Wikimedia Foundation here in Brazil and to present our research about Tainacan and the round-trip processing, what we are doing right now in these days. And Éder, can I share my video screen with you right now? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I will share. Can you see my presentation? It's working?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So I will talk about the round tripping, and I will explain in more details how we are researching and how we are investigating some possibilities to implement the round trip process in the free software Tainacan, and to give some context and to give some information about what we are doing and why we are doing that, why we are developing this piece of software, this connection between Tainacan and Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata, why we are doing that. I will give some context information about the Tainacan, about our project, about our lab, and why we are doing this kind of research and why we are doing this kind of experience. So first of all, here you can find my email address if you have some question, or if you would like to talk a little bit more about this presentation. It would be a pleasure to receive the questions, to answer what I can. It's very nice to talk about these topics that we are talking here in this presentation. So my name is Dalton Martins, and I am from the University of Brasilia. I'm a teacher, I'm a professor in the Faculty of Information Science here. In this faculty, we have three main important undergraduate courses: museology, librarianship studies, and archaeology. And we have a graduate program, a PhD and master program in information science. So we have a very, very good and a very interesting academic space to debate and to make discussions about digital collections, about digital objects, about digital repositories. It's a very privileged space to talk about this conversation, and a very powerful space to develop the kind of research that we are doing, and I will present to you today. So what we are doing here, to get started, I would like to present an overview of our research, and talk a little bit about Tainacan and about why we are developing Tainacan, what is Tainacan, and after that, to make a connection between Tainacan and Wikimedia, Wikidata, and why we are trying to develop, we are researching the round trip process. So in our lab, we have a kind of ecosystem solutions, ecosystem research about digital collections. We develop here research and development of solutions connected to digital collections in a very broad sense. I mean, we are developing here training material and technological, which we call a technological maturity diagnosis. It's a methodological way to evaluate and to discover some fragility points and some good points that the memory institutions they have related to the digital solutions. And we develop training materials to technicians, to people that are working in this kind of memory institutions, and they are trying to learn a little bit more about digital collections. They are trying to learn how develop and strategic plans, how develop solutions for the digital necessities. So we develop in the first picture here, we develop training material, which is a very, very important effort related to our lab. In a second instance, we developed two software, which I will present for you today. Mainly, I'm talking about Tainacan, which is a plugin and a theme. In fact, we are talking about a series of plugins related to WordPress, and how you can transform WordPress, how you can transform your digital website in a digital repository to develop collections, to organize and disseminate and manage your digital objects. So in our lab, we have this effort to develop software, to develop free software, and mainly to the public institutions in Brazil, much more related to museums, but the software is used by libraries and archivals here in Brazil. Third, we have, as we are a public university, as we have these PG and MSc programs, we develop scientific research, mainly connected to masters and doctorates, related to digital cultural heritage. So we have almost 15 persons in our lab that are developing PG and master's dissertations about different topics, some topics related to technology, some topics related to information science models, metadata patterns, and ontologies and documentation, a very, very diverse different topics related to digital cultural heritage. We have some efforts related to develop scientific articles, book chapters, and publish in the scientific literature about our results. And we have a very specific group which is dedicated to aggregation efforts to retrieve and develop new kinds of search solutions to massive data from the digital collections. So we are interested in this kind of effort, in how we can collect data from different digital repositories, different museums, different libraries, how we can collect, how we can put this data together, how we can research, how we can make search and retrieval of this massive data. And we are using, I will talk a little bit about that in some minutes, but we are using Elastic Stack. We are developing some solutions to connect the software to model, to crosswalking the metadata, and some different solutions that we are trying and we are researching in our lab. And the last thing that we are developing in our lab is a group which is really dedicated to data science and machine learning process, but very related and very connected to metadata and to this kind of data, which you can find in these digital repositories from memory institutions, from cultural heritage. So we are developing some efforts in how to create very powerful workflows to improve the quality of metadata, the quality of data. And we have right now one PhD student and one master student, which is dedicated to develop some research in how to create and how to develop automatic metadata generation for text documents and image documents. So we have this kind of organization in our lab. We have this kind of fronts in which we dedicate our efforts and our time in doing research and developing software and developing those things. In this presentation, I will take a look with you in more detail about two main things. I will present to you Tainacan. So I will talk about this front related to software, the development of our software, Tainacan, mainly, but different things related to Tainacan, and about our research in this technology and policies to aggregate, search and retrieval of massive data from distributed digital collections. I will present these two main topics in this presentation. I would like to discuss with you because I think these two efforts, they are very, very important. And it's as we are trying to develop our research related to these two topics that we arrive at Wikidata, that we arrive at Wikimedia Commons, and we develop our interest in discover how we can use this kind of information systems, this kind of information networks. Mainly, it's very important to highlight these functions about these information networks, very massive, very distributed in many different countries and languages. So it's a very powerful digital space to socialize digital objects, and it's why we are interested in Wikimedia and Wikidata and Wikipedia. But I will begin talking about our software, and after that about our research, and then we arrive and discuss some about Roundtripping. So first of all, I will talk about Tainacan. Tainacan is our most important development in our lab. Tainacan is a software, is a free software, and I will explain what it's consisted about. It's a software to organize, disseminate, and manage digital collections. It's formed by 4 plugins we have here and 1 WordPress theme. So Tainacan is so dependent, and it's a way to transform your WordPress website in a digital repository. And we have the main plugin, which is called Tainacan. The main functions, the main developments are made inside Tainacan, but we have 3 another plugins. If you install these another plugins, you can improve your Tainacan solution, you can improve your WordPress. And I will present the 4 plugins, and we have 1 theme, which is called Tainacan Interface. Tainacan Interface is a way in which you can transform your WordPress theme in it's most connected in the way that we understand that a digital repository could work and could function and could appear to the end user. So if you install Tainacan Interface, you can transform your digital solution in a digital repository, and we offer these 5 solutions for WordPress, these 4 plugins and this theme. So I will present in more details the plugins, and then I will present the theme. So the main plugin is Tainacan. We have more than 400 right now active solutions. We have, this number is outdated today, but we have in turn of 9,000 downloads of their plugin, which is a very important numbers for us, very important results about our development. So let's take a look about Tainacan and how it works, just to show you some functions and some. I will use the presentation here, which we give information in the official web page of Tainacan in the plugin repository of WordPress. So in Tainacan, you can create collections, you can create, for example, you can figure out your collection, you can create the name of your collection, the thumbnail of your collection, the image header of your collection. You can describe your collection, explaining what this collection is made for. You can create very specific, you can customize your metadata model. So using Tainacan, we have different kinds of metadata available. So you can create the metadata that you need to describe your collection, to index your collection, using control vocabularies, using relationship metadata, selection lists, date metadata, simple text, long text, compose metadata. You can develop very specific solutions for your catalogation strategy for your digital collection. You can submit your digital items. You can describe your items using the metadata. You can submit digital files like images, text files, and wherever you want. And you can connect, you can create this kind of documents. For example, we have players like this one, players for audio files, so you can submit your file and you can use Tainacan to listen the file, which is a very nice in a very cool solutions. So we have here different kinds of ways to show you the information using tables, cards, mosaics, and different kinds of ways to visualize your connection. You can navigate by facets, so you can select the metadata, you can using different kinds of vocabularies. We have very advanced search solution to research. You can create very customized taxonomies and control vocabularies. So Tainacan offers to you a solution to create a vocabulary in a hierarchy way. You can put members, father name, father words, sons words. You can create a very hierarchical solution to your collection. So you can edit items, mass edit of items. So you can select the items and make changes in a massive way. And you have a very nice interface to show you the results for your end user using Tainacan interface, for example, with these examples. And another feature which is very, very, very important and a very cool feature about Tainacan is that you can integrate your digital collections with the features, with the native features of WordPress, like, for example, the Gutenberg editor, in which you can create, and you don't need to code to do that, which is very important to popularize this kind of solutions. You can create very specific and very customized web pages, just selecting items for your digital collections and diagramming the solutions in your web page and publish that to your end users using this very powerful solution from WordPress, which is called Gutenberg blocks. So it's a feature related to WordPress and very powerful, and you can integrate with Tainacan and create very good solutions to that. So I'm showing here some examples of solutions using for example, a web page from Gutenberg blocks. So this is a very thin and a very specific introduction to Tainacan. Tainacan is a software that you need more time to present and more time to get deeper in showing these features that we develop in Tainacan. But I think that the most important things I show it to you just to take a look, just to have a picture about this software is developed. So here you can see the number of downloads. We published Tainacan in 2018, in May 2018, and since then we had almost a little bit more than 9,000 downloads. We have an average of downloads per day of 13 downloads, and we are discovering that the interest in our software, the interest about the memory institutions and communities, not only in Brazil, but in different countries, mostly in Latin America, they are discovering Tainacan, they are trying to use Tainacan to develop their digital strategy and skills. Another plugins that we have developed, and I will show you some the solutions just to take a look about the different kinds of offers that we have in our lab. This is another plugin, and you need to use Tainacan, but you can install, if you want, another plugin which is named Extra View Modes. So what this plugin does, I will show you here some examples. So if you have some digital objects, and for example, you want to show these objects in a different way, you can install this plugin, and using this plugin, you can show the configuration of about the exhibitions of your digital items. And you can see here different modes of exhibitions, which is very nice, very cool, because you have different digital collections. And for example, you would like to impress your user, highlighting some different kinds of features about your digital collection, and using extra view modes, you have these different options. So it's a very nice plugin, a very important complement of Tainacan. Another one is a plugin which is called URL metadata type, in a very nice plugin. And what you can do using that, you can create metadata in your digital collection, which you can put some URL information inside this metadata. And Tainacan will show, if you have, for example, an embed solution about showing information using this metadata type, Tainacan will show it in your web page. For example, if I use this metadata to include a YouTube link inside, Tainacan will show you the video. So it's very nice because you have a metadata that can improve your way to visualize information. Or, for example, I would like to put a map. So you take the coordinates from Google Maps, for example, you generate a link from Google Maps, and you generate an embedded link, and you can use this metadata field to put your map inside your documentation, which is very nice. And you can create solutions like that. You have the thumbnail image of your digital object here, but you can show to your user a video or a map which is presumed to be connected with this digital thumbnail. So it's very nice, a very cool solution in which, in using, you can improve your Tainacan experience. Another one, it's a Blocksy theme integration. Blocksy is a very important theme from WordPress. You can develop very specific sites. And when you use this integration, Tainacan with Blocksy, you can develop very customized web pages using digital objects from Tainacan. So we are showing here different kinds of web pages in which you can customize, you can integrate, collecting digital objects already cataloged in your digital collection. So you can organize your digital objects using Tainacan, and you can present these digital objects using, for example, very customized web pages made using block setting, integrated with Tainacan, using the blocks support plugin. So these are our main plugins, and after that, just to present here, we have the Tainacan interface. Tainacan interface is a complete theme, and we can install this theme in your WordPress, and you can transform your WordPress in an interface very customized to exhibit your digital collection. So we have a very active community in GitHub, and if you, for example, are interested in discover more and explore our digital developments, our codes, all the complete code of WordPress are based in GitHub. About the plugin, Tainacan Plugin WordPress are based in GitHub, so you can enter there and see the solutions, the developments that our team are doing. And we have another very important things for user support. We have a Discourse group, and you can enter here and talk with our team, all the developers of Tainacan, our research team, everybody from our lab is inside the Discourse group, so we can keep a discussion about your team related to Tainacan. And we have 2 in a week, which is translated to English, the most important pages, and you can find some informations about Tainacan, how to use, how to collect data, how to consume data, how to install. We have very important information there. So I finished this step about presenting Tainacan, and I would like to present here our scientific research, what we are doing about our research. We have some very important papers. If you would like to give some to take more information about we are researching here, we have this very important paper published in 2021 in this journal, which is called Museum Society, in which we discuss about how to use these principles of digital culture and social networks to develop strategies for museum education and our efforts connected to museums in Brazil. This is another one, a very technical paper in which we discuss, in fact, is a systematic literature review in which we compare different strategies for aggregating cultural heritage data on the web. So we present different workflow models for aggregating cultural heritage data, and we discuss the difference, the similarities of these models, and how you can customize these models to create your own workflow, which we are doing here in Brazil with the Brasiliana Museums project that we are engaged right now. Another one, which is very important for us, considering that when we talk about Wikidata, the quality of metadata, it's a very important discussion. In this book chapter, which is published in this book by Springer, we discuss elements for constructing a data quality policy, and we compare 2 cases, the DPLA, the Digital Public Library of America, and the European Foundation, how they created, how they developed their policies to analyze data and to consider if this data is in a good shape, in a good way to enter in the aggregators or not, or you need to improve your data, and before that and after that you can send the data for us to test and see if your data is good enough to enter in the aggregator and to be part of a most huge and the most important network of the digital collections. So we study these cases to discover how they are doing, to learn with their technical documentation, and to give some advices about how we can develop some strategies here in Brazil, mostly related to Brazilian Institute of Museums, in which we are right now developing a kind of policy related to the Brazilian Museums project. And another one which I would like to highlight is in press, it's not published already, but it's a paper in which we discuss a methodology to evaluate technology maturity parameters in museums. How you can evaluate a museum, how you can evaluate their maturity technology capacity, how this museum is already available to develop a digital strategy, or which are their fragilities we need to improve, and human resources, systems, data, connections, computers. We evaluate the whole picture of a museum related to their digital strategy. So some papers just to share with you what we are doing here, and I will arrive about this theme that I consider is much more important to our discussion today, which is related to aggregation. So we developed this article, which is called Workflow Models for Aggregating Cultural Heritage Data on the web. And in this article, we discover 9 steps, which I would like to highlight to you here. In these 9 steps, we discover different strategies or to improve the metadata quality, or to enrich metadata, to monitor metadata, to store metadata, to index metadata, and how these different strategies, these different initiatives of aggregation of metadata, how they are working in these 9 steps. They are very important steps, and understanding these steps is a necessity if you would like to develop a service, an aggregation service, which is our case here in Brazil, how we can develop a strategy in these different steps. If I have the necessity to use these 9 steps, which steps I don't need to use, which steps is very important and very necessary to develop good metadata and good information about our collections. So this is a very important paper about our research. If you are interested in this topic, I recommend to take a look in our results. So here in Brazil, we are using to develop Brazilian Museums project the Elastic Stack, and we are using all the solutions from this stack, which is Bits to collect data, Logstash to aggregate and transform data, Elasticsearch to index and storage data, and Kibana to analyze and visualize data. So we have in one point of this network, at the end point of this network, we have Tainacan solutions. So we have the museums here, for example, and after that, we have the possibility to create a very public, integrated engine to visualize and to make integrated search in this data. So we are working with the solutions, we are doing research, discovering how the software works, how to integrate the whole solution, and how to create a service about that. And here you can see some results about digital panels, analytical dashboards that we have created from this data collected in real time from the museums here in Brazil. Kibana is a very nice and very powerful solution. These are the first results that we are arriving in our research. So I think I finished my introduction mainly about our lab, what we are doing, and I would like to discuss with you about the roundtripping. It's important to say that we are, I consider that we are at the beginning of our research. We are not developing a specific solution nowadays. We are understanding, we are reading, we are experimenting different pieces of the whole solution that we consider that could be the whole solution. So we have much more doubts than certainties at the moment. And I will share with you our conception, our vision about this process. And this could be very nice, and this could be very, very cool to keep a discussion about this vision and to share some informations to discover if we are going in the good way or we are going in a bad way, or we can prove some kind of our vision. This could be really, really nice to discuss with you. So to give the general vision, we have our idea is to develop a round trip service which needs to work inside Tainacan. The important thing is exists different solutions to publish media files in Wikimedia Commons, to publish metadata in Wikidata, and to reuse metadata in Wikipedia, to reuse files published in Commons in Wikipedia. Exists different solutions, different softwares, very good solutions. But the question for us is how you can use the institution digital repository to do the round tripping. So we need to begin our discussion imagining that we are a museum, or we are a library, or we are a memory institution, and we have Tainacan. We are using Tainacan as a solution of our digital repository. So we have a software, we have our collection published in Tainacan, and we would like to publish our files and our metadata in Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata, and offer this information to these very, very important information networks as a way to socialize information, as a way to diffuse more broadly our cultural information. So this is the vision. It's very important to share with you this vision because it's some restriction that we have in our project, which is to develop a solution that will work inside Tainacan. So how we are imagining nowadays that this solution could work. You will use Tainacan to publish. In a first moment, you can publish your media files from Tainacan in Wikimedia Commons. And you can use Tainacan to monitor the revisions, the editions, the traductions, and the file use statistics. You can monitor all this very important and very powerful information from, for example, reports which could be generated inside Tainacan. So you can use Tainacan to publish and to monitor the editions from Wikimedia Commons. The same works for Wikidata in our vision. You can use Tainacan to publish metadata in Wikidata and to receive informations about revisions, new statements, and traductions in your items published in Wikidata. You can use Tainacan to monitor these informations, to receive, for example, notifications saying to you that, oh, your digital item, your key ID number XXXX was traduced, their property, their statement about, for example, materials and techniques were translated from Portuguese to, for example, in English. So we will receive this notification, we will discover that someone entered in our item and work to make some improvement in this item. And the whole idea, but we don't need to do nothing about that because it works very, very cool nowadays, is if we publish files in Wikimedia, these files could be used by Wikipedia and metadata too, to generate info box in Wikipedia, to use these files to illustrate some pages, some topics in Wikipedia. So this is the whole vision that we are imagining here to develop using Tainacan as a digital repository, which could work as a home for the whole service. So this is the idea, and it would be very nice to discuss with you if you think, or if you find that this solution could be useful. To do that, we have some problems. This is the question that I would like to discuss. And first of all, I would like...
Sorry.
Okay, Éder,
we have a question about the graph. I think
okay,
it's interesting that we show here. Let me read it to you. Is it only reuse of Wikimedia knowledge on Tainacan as a third-party software, or will Wikimedia communities gain anything from Tainacan knowledge? The person is confused to the diagram.
Okay, the idea is we can publish media files from Tainacan inside Wikimedia Commons, and you can publish metadata from Tainacan to Wikidata. So you have files and metadata already published in Tainacan, and you will transfer this information from Tainacan to Wikimedia Commons and to Wikidata. So, in fact, to be simple, you will create new items in Wikimedia Commons and in Wikidata. And after creating these new items, you will monitor editions, traductions, and use statistics inside Tainacan. I don't know if I make myself clear explaining this way, but if you have another doubt about this, it will be a pleasure to discover different ways to answer.
Thank you.
Can I continue?
I think we have another question from the same person. Who would do the publishing to Wikimedia? Tainacan user or Wikimedia users? All content on Tainacan has compatible license.
Okay, it's a very powerful and very important question. The question is, the idea is that Tainacan users, the Tainacan managers, will publish this data, and we know that we need to create solutions to clarify and to give some very important notes about the license things. And we know the license is a question in our research. It's a very important thing to solve and to resolve. But the idea is using Tainacan as, for example, you can use a Wikibot in which, if the files, they have the permission, they are licensed in the right way, they can be published in Wikimedia Commons and their data in Wikidata. Is it okay, Éder?
I think it is. We can continue.
Okay. So, our references. I mean here, what we are studying, what we are reading, what we are using as some points that we are based to create our solution. The first reference here is from this group which create the Wiki Commons data roundtripping, this group from Sweden that they already present here in Wikidata Lab. In the last Wikidata Lab, they create three important reports discussing the roundtripping, the problem, mapping user demands about the roundtripping. Very, very useful reports. In these reports, we can find very important notes about how the problem that the information systems for the digital, the information systems for the institutions, the memory institutions, it could be very nice if these information systems have this kind of capability. This kind of capability to publish data, to publish files inside Wikimedia. They describe this idea in these reports, which very powerful and a very good advice for us that we are looking for. So it's a reference if you are interested in know more about data round-tripping. I would say that you go there to this link and take a look in these reports. They are very good written, and very useful. Another one, it's a paper which was published in this conference, a very important conference, which is called Museum the Web. This paper is for 2019, written by Helena Villas-Paesa and Trius Navarrete, which are two good researchers that are developing research. Mostly of their research are related to e-communities, and they have different kinds of studies. And in this study, which is published here in this link, they create a diagram saying to give us some ideas about how this round tripping could work. So the idea that we are presenting for you, if you compare this diagram that I'm showing here in the slide with the diagram that I show you in this last slide, you see that the functionalities are almost the same. Of course, we have difference here because we are doing our research in a more specific way, considering that we are talking very specific about Tainacan. But if you take a look here, what you see the museum database from the side. So in this place where you are looking for the museum database, you can change and you can put Tainacan. So let's, for example, imagine that the museum database is Tainacan. So if we follow the diagram, we'll see that they will suggest that we could put the metadata in the Wikidata, and we could put the media in Wikimedia Commons. So if you take a look here, the editors, they will edit, they will work in this side here. The editors from the Wiki solutions, they work in this side here. And once this information was published in these information networks, you can reuse the information in Wikipedia, which is a very good way to reuse this information, a very powerful way to use this information. And once this information published in these networks, we can follow the diagram and discover that we have this part, which is very important to us, in which information returns to the museum database, mainly information about translations, information about improvements in data, which is called here enhanced data. So it's the complete round-tripping idea. You can publish data, metadata in Wikidata. You can publish media in Wikimedia Commons, and the improvements in their data, the additions in their data returns to the museum database. This is the idea that this Elena and Trius, they are discussing their paper. It's very important to us, very inspiring paper for us to develop our research here. Another one, it's not a scientific paper, it's a blog post, but very important for us too, made by Sandra Falconier in 2019. And in this blog post, she makes some discussion about that round tripping, which she calls a new frontier from Glenn Wiki collaborations, which is a very, very inspiring vision, and for us, this idea about a new frontier. And in this blog post, she uses another diagram, which is available to take a look in Commons. And you have the same idea, which is presented in a different way, but it's the same idea. And in this idea, you have the institution memory here, which we can change another way. The institution memory here by the database from the institution, and in our case, you can change the institution here by Tainacan software, which we are considering to be the database from the institutions. So if you change the database, you can follow the diagram, and you can see that going from the institutions, we have new collection items, additional metadata, and corrections about the institution, which will be delivered this information in Wikidata and Wikimedia Commons. And going from Wikidata and Wikimedia Commons to the institutions, we have the translations, the additional metadata and corrections by Wikimedians. So this is the idea of the round tripping. We have the database, the institution database from one side, and we have these information networks in another side, and we can put these two information systems to change and to share information between them. So this is the idea, this is the reference, those are the reference that we are using to our research, that we are reading, discussing, and understanding. And to develop that, we are thinking, and I'm not sure if we have just 4 big problems or there are more problems that we are not figuring out right now. But in our research, we think that we have 4 big problems to solve, 4 big problems to implement the solution. The first problem is the reconciliation of metadata values. So in Tainacan, you have your metadata, you have your data cataloged, and it should be very, very useful and very powerful that before you publish your metadata in Wikidata, we know that these metadata values could be reconciled with another entities in Wikidata. So this is the first problem. The second problem is the publishing workflow. How we will transfer the information from Tainacan to Wikidata and to Wikimedia. It's interesting to use the API. It's interesting to use the Wikiboats. We can develop a boat, which is the best way. It's interesting to use a shared solution, some parts made using API, some parts made using boats. How the best way to do that? How is the best way to develop the service considering the publishing workflow? It's the second problem that we are interested in. The third problem is the monitoring workflow of editions and collaborations, of course, but how we can monitor in a very efficient, in a very interesting way, the editions, the improvements, the translations made in the data published, the corrections made in the data published in Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata. How we can monitor that and how we can collect this information created related to those items and show this information, monitor it inside Tainacan in a very cool and a very simple dashboard panel in which the manager of the collection can follow the updates and authorize to change the data inside their database or neglected the change it, considering that he cannot agree with this edition for some reason that you can imagine here. And the last problem that we have, the last feature that we are imagining to our solution is monitor the reuse data. The reuse data, I mean, how people are using those images to inside Wikipedia and using information to Infobox and this kind of features. So, in our opinion, right now, and it's important to say that we are we are developing this vision, so it could change tomorrow, no problem. It's an open vision, in fact. But in our vision today, we have these 4 big problems to solve and to develop solutions. And I will show you some information about how we are imagining to solve these problems right now, saying that we are considering this kind of solution. So, data publish workflow. Let me see if I have some slides that disappeared. Oh, they are not visible to you. Let me see if they are. I will present here just to not spend our time trying to figure out what happened here. But the first problem is the reconciliation of metadata values. So it's in this slide I have a scheme about how this work in, for example, Open Refine solution. You have here, for example, a table. In one column you have the city, in another column you have the country, and using these 2 informations, you can discover, for example, in Wikidata that Cambridge is this key ID, country is a property, and the value of the country is this key ID, and this information is represented and use this codification, for example, ISO 3166-1. And you can, for example, in Open Refine, which is a very inspiring solution for us, you can present to the user the suggestions to reconciliation. And these numbers are very important here because you can say to your user that the suggestion, they have a probability to be right or a probability to be wrong, and you, the user, the manager of the collection, you can decide which is the correct. So it's like a semi-automatic reconciliation that we are. The idea is to develop exactly the same solution inside Tainacan, and to do that, we have this kind of solutions which are very important and very inspiring to us too. For example, Open Refine, the community for Open Refine, they developed this service. In fact, is a RESTful API service which is available on the web, and you can enter here. And if you are interested, they say here in this documentation that you can use this web service to, for example, reconcile your information using Wikidata. And we have some experiments in that. They are developing, it's another very, very important, inspiring information and very new information. You can say here that this draft is from March 21, so it's very new, it's very recent, which is a specification to how you can develop a reconciliation service API. And this API created by the Open Refine community is based in this specification, which is very inspiring for us. So, for example, if I enter in the API that the community developed to us, if you would like to use this link, you will find some verbs, some information returned by the API in the JSON format. You can see the API working here. And if, for example, I connect here, I could, for example, show this to you, the API working here. Let me put here, sorry. And you can see the API. And here we are. So this is the Wikidata reconciliation API from the community, from the Open Refine community. So you can see the API working. And for example, if I can use this API to preview of an item which has a key ID and an image. And for example, to show you some example, I took this Santos Dumont collection and just giving this information to the API. You can see here, you will find the preview of this item. And here we are. We have the preview of this item, and if I click on this link, I will find the item in Wikidata. So it's very, very interesting because I can use the API to preview the item, to pass the key ID as an information, and to preview the item, which is interesting for us. For example, I can use the API to give some information about an entity. For example, I can show you here how I used the API to, for example, discover the name of my university, University of Brasilia. And I pass the information here in the API, and they will show to me, and this is a very, very useful information from this API, because they have a score, and this score is a probability that the answer received from Wikidata is right. So I send the information in the API, I send a query about Universidade de Brasília, University of Brasilia, and I receive here the information from the API that this is the key ID 133634, and with a score of 100. So it's very, very, very probable that this information is right. And different IDs in which the university appear, how this is described, you know. So University Brasilia is type what? Is type of university, is type of public educational institution, is type of a publisher, which is very useful in which the university appear. So a very, very useful API in which we can send information. We can develop some code from inside Tainacan. You can send information to this API and receive the information as we are seeing here. We can receive the information reconciled. So let's return to the whole presentation here. And this is the first problem that we are trying to develop, which is related to reconciliation. Our idea is to use a web service like this web service created by OpenRefine, even use this service of reconciliation from OpenRefine community. Is a possibility. We are understanding, researching the solution, if it's possible to use, to send information to Wikidata and receive information back to make the reconciliation inside Tainacan. The second problem is the data publishing workflow. We have very, very good documentation about how we can offer data, how we can publish data in Wikidata, and we have this kind of ways. You can use the metadata, the MediaWiki API. You can use, you can access data for Sparkle endpoints. You can use bots to collect data from Wikidata. So we are studying this documentation, and we have this page, which is very, very interesting, which share with us a vision about how you can offer data to Wikidata, considering that you are a data provider here, and you can use this ingestion API to publish data, and this data will be by Wikidata users. This data will be accepted or rejected, which is a curation API, and you can receive some information about that. So we have different kinds of APIs here. This page shares some very powerful visions that we are using as inspiration. Another one, you have this very, very cool documentation about how to donate data to Wikidata, and you have the possibility to do that manually, which is very known by our partners here. The online tools, you can use mix and match, quick statements, which are very easy solutions to use, or you can use more automatized solutions which are interested for is using the Wikidata API or using Wikidata bots to make the publication of this data. So we are studying these APIs and how they work, how we can develop a bot, the questions related to the solutions to develop the connection from Tainacan with Wikidata API. The same is with Commons. We have very good documentations about how to create a Pi Wikibot, which is a very nice documentation to create a bot, to publish data, to collect information. We have a very, very useful documentation about the MediaWiki API, and we are considering to use that. And the third problem, how we can monitor the editions and collaborations. We are researching that, and I will show here just some examples about how we are doing, how we are thinking that we can develop the solution. For example, I will use that to share with you. For example, I'm here in a item in which I can see some very good information about, and I will just log to give access of the history. So I'm here in an item from Museu Paulista, and which is interesting. If you take a look here, we have a history in this page, an action history in this page, and in this history, I can follow all the revisions, all the editions created in this page, and the name of the users, what they did, and I can see their editions in this page. But the most important for us is that this history of revisions page, they have automatized, they have this information offered in an Atom feed. So they offer this information in an XML file, in an Atom feed. In this Atom feed, I can follow using algorithms and computation, and I can compute and I can collect this history from an Wikidata item. So if I can collect the revision history, I can discover the editions which were made by the users. You can discover the information related to this item. So the idea for us is exactly to develop some ways to follow inside Tainacan this revision history. And the manager of the collection, they will know when you have an edition, when you have some new information related to your item. It will work in our vision exactly as a blog feed reader works. When you have new information published, you will receive a notification in your RSS feed reader. So I'm showing here what I showed to you online. And the interesting is, for example, you can use the URL metadata from Tainacan, and when you use the URL metadata from Tainacan, you can show, of course, it's not a nice information to read because it's very viewed in a dense kind of information, but just using URL metadata type from Tainacan, I can show the history, the revision history of this item really connected to the web page from the item inside their digital collections. Of course, the idea is to improve this kind of visualization. The idea is to create a notification service for the manager of the collection to follow and to keep updated about the revisions. But what we are showing here is that this is not so difficult for us to see this information inside another system, as we have already this Atom feed working and working in a very good way. So this is the same for Wikimedia Commons. We have, for example, this image from the Museu Paulista too. And if you take a look, we have another revision history from this file in the Wikimedia. And this revision history, again, has an atom feed in which we can monitor, in which we can discover the editions made by the users, and we can show these editions in another systems. So to finish here, how we can develop, how we can solve the monitor reuse data to collect information about that. We have these very inspiring references, which is GLAM Week Dashboard. It's a very cool solution, very beautiful, very well developed solution that show informations about these GLAM initiatives. We have some initiative from Brazil developed by our colleagues here as Museu Paulista, Museu de Anatomia, from Universidade de São Paulo. Very, very interesting. But they are solutions only to monitor the reuse information, the views information. Another one, which is related, the two solutions, they are related about the same technology, but it's another implementation, which is the GLAM stats from Wikimedia Swiss. And what we discover here is we have already implemented an analytics query service, which is a public interface API in which you can monitor, in which you can collect using this API information about usage files, about views of the files, and different kinds of information. And we have already implemented in Tainacan a report model. Here I'm showing to you as this report model works nowadays inside Tainacan. These report models are reports from digital collections inside Tainacan, but the idea is to use this kind of presentation of reports to present information related to Wikidata and Wikimedia files reuse. So we are seeing here some graphs and some informations about these reports, about activities from users and different kinds of solutions. And which is our challenge here is to integrate all these parts, is to integrate these different pieces of software that I showed to you in my presentation today, how we can integrate that, how we can develop a whole solution which could work in a very nice way as a WordPress plugin connected to Tainacan. This is our challenge. This is what we are trying to develop right now. So I finished my presentation, and thank you so much for the patience to listen me by this time.
Thank you, Dalton. That was very interesting. I think we can open to questions on the chat, and I'll start with the first one, just to get people going. My question is, the institution doesn't have to actually change its database to implement Tainacan. They can have their database and then present their data on Tainacan, or is that it? Okay. But there is a specific formatting to do in their data when importing to Tainacan.
No. There's no, Tainacan is you can customize your metadata model. And for example, if you have a solution using Excel spreadsheets, and you have different kinds of columns using Excel, you can model these columns in Tainacan. You can reproduce the name of the columns, the type of the data columns inside Tainacan, and you can upload your spreadsheet inside Tainacan using this modeling. Of course, when you will publish this data to different data models, which is, for example, a pattern like Dublin Core. Now, we have a very known pattern, a data model pattern, and if you decide to publish your data using Dublin Core model, you can use Tainacan to create a crosswalk. You can map your column here, for example. Your column has a name, author, and in Dublin Core, this name is creator. You can map author from author to creator using Tainacan, and you can have an API endpoint to collect this data mapped, which is very useful because you simplify the problem to map this information from outside Tainacan. You can do it from inside Tainacan.
Great. I was thinking about, for example, the date format, because when you are creating taxonomies on Tainacan, you declare which type of data you are creating. If it is a date, if it is a number or a text. I was thinking, because in Wikidata, to import the data from outside to Wikidata, we usually get the quick statements format, that is the MediaWiki format. But then we build or translate our date format from the source to the wiki format. So I was thinking, if I'm creating a taxonomy about a date, date of publication, or other property of date, then should we translate this data from the source to some international format or something like that?
Yeah, this is one challenge. How we can transform this data to be adequate to the MediaWiki, to the Wikimedia formats to publish this data. It's a challenge. We have already did some kinds of experience in doing that, to transform the information, use an API, and collecting that in the aggregation projects from Brazilian museums, and using Elastic Stack to do that. And we have some kinds of transformation inside Logstash, and you need to do some transformation from patterns of data to aggregate data, to separate data, to challenge the data formats, some information like that. But we need to research that. We don't have an exactly answer how to do that, and how we improve the way that we are trying to publish our data using this kind of features.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a question from the chat. Let me show. Very nice, very nice. You showed some softwares doing that. Sorry, forgot the titles. Sweden, Boston. Is there competition, collaboration? Are they WordPress as plugins too?
No, there's not WordPress plugins doing that, as we know. Maybe someone is developing something around the world, but we don't have any notes about that. And about competition, no, I don't think we have competitions with these initiatives. In fact, we would like to collaborate with them. There's no problem. They are very inspiring initiatives. And in my opinion, as we are collaborating with the WIki Movimento Brasil, and you guys, you have a conversation with these international initiatives, I think that we are almost one or two steps to keep discussions with these international initiatives. In my point of view, it will be very nice and very, very useful if we discuss in a more broadly group about the solutions, even if we decide to develop in different ways. I think we don't need to arrive at the conclusion that this is the best way to do. I don't think so. I believe that as many different solutions that we have, as many different pieces of softwares that we are developing, this could be useful to the community. this diversity of solutions, these are very powerful. But just to finish, in my opinion, competition not, but collaboration is a desire.
Okay. I think we have another question from João. The previous one was from someone named Comunicação. I don't know who it is. Let me show the João question. I always ask the same question because I guess I am obsessed with AIs. This circuit you're showing is technical, but also involves learning processes. Where would you fit machine learning in this process?
Well, this is a target, João. I agree with you. This is a target. We need to arrive at these machine learning solutions. But the question is, in our roadmap to develop this kind of technical solutions, we are on a step back. We are trying to figure out the whole model, the whole information model, how we can organize information in the right way, and after that to develop the machine learning solution. We are doing that. We have one PhD student developing solutions to generate automatic or semi-automatic metadata to text documents and using Tainacan. He's trying to develop a service in which the librarian, for example, he can publish the document using Tainacan and use the service to give some ideas about how to index these documents, for example, considering a thesaurus already used by the institutions. We have this kind of initiative. We have another one, which is a research from University of Campinas, Unicamp, which is developing a service about how to discover elements on an image. And in very, very typical elements, it's mobilia in our digital collections from the museums. And this guy, he is developing a neural network about how to identify objects which were published inside Tainacan. But we are at the beginning of these steps. I think we need maybe more 2 or 3 years of doing research, of developing some tests, and then I think we will manage maybe the most important steps about how to create a machine learning service. And I think this strategy for doing round tripping using Tainacan and Wikidata and Wikimedia Commons, it will be a very, very powerful source of good information, of quality information to training machine learning algorithms. I believe in that we can enrich our documentation in the Tainacan side using data from Wikidata, and once we enrich this information, this documentation in Tainacan side, we can use this information, which was originated from Wikidata side, to training algorithms. And these algorithms help the managers of the collections to generate automatic or semi-automatic, for example, keywords for their documents. I believe in this vision, and I think that we will arrive at this solution, but we will need to maybe wait for 2 or 3 years. And I believe that we can develop this kind of solutions, sharing and collaborating with our groups.
Thank you. I think we have a request to share the GitHub repository. I will get the link and post on the chat.
Do you want that I send the link to you, Éder, or you have already?
Yes, you can send on the private chat on the StreamYard. And João said, thank you, I believe too, let's do this. I will ask another question, kind of a simpler question, not the artificial intelligence one, but you mentioned on in the steps for the data aggregation and the 9 steps for the workflow of this integration of the data. You mentioned the reconciliation of values from the databases. And you mentioned OpenRefine as a tool to reconcile with Wikidata and the Wikimedia projects. And my question is about OpenRefine because I have a little experience with it, and I would like to understand better how or does OpenRefine keep track of the reconciliation done, and for example, if we are working on a lexicon strategy, because you have controlled vocabularies. Once I have these controlled vocabularies mapped to the Wikidata items, for example, Brazil is key 155, and I have this information on my database. How can I or store this information on Tainacan, or how is it stored, or there is a planning to store this mapping that is done on the reconciliation step?
Yeah, very, very good question, Éder. Is the idea? OpenRefine is not a database. OpenRefine is a tool to improve quality of data and to make some transformations and normalizations, and it's like data science basic steps to improve your data. It's a very powerful tool we use in our lab almost every day. But OpenRefine is not a database. If you find information from reconciliation, you need to save this information in the data files. For example, Excel, spreadsheets, or CSV text files. Our idea and how OpenRefine does the reconciliation. OpenRefine uses an algorithm which is called fuzzy-use, which is an algorithm that calculates the distance. They use a very, very clever strategy to do that, which is a Liechtenstein algorithm. Is a mathematical formula which you can calculate the distance between one string and another. And using this calculus, you can find if these strings are close or are distant. And once you say, for example, to OpenRefine that this is a column, in this column, I have the names of universities. So you declare the type, universities. And using this information, OpenRefine knows that you have this type, which is universities. And OpenRefine knows that universities is an entity in Wikidata. It knows the number of the entity. And it uses this type of information to enclose the filters that they use to select suggestions to reconcile. So once you declare the type, you make a search in Wikidata, and OpenRefine calculates the distance and say to you, showing a number, which is a probability, that this name has, for example, 70% probability to be right, or 85% or 90% or 100% to be the thing that you are. And you, which is the user that are creating the data, you can decide which is the correct for you. Even, for example, you need to go to Wikidata and check because you don't have the whole information about this entity in the same interface. So it's a very manual process because you need to check. There is no there is not right now a very the whole solution automatized, because it generates errors. We don't have certain that this entity is the same from the both sides. And our idea is to use the same service the same idea, the same algorithm to use the fuzzy using, even, as I said in the presentation, consider to use the web service from OpenRefine community to reconcile information in Wikidata, or to reproduce this kind of service, because they have all the technical information published in the web, so it's not difficult to customize that. And also, we found the information in Wikidata. We need to store that in Tainacan. This is the question. It's an information, the key ID, that you need to store. Our idea is to create a private metadata, which is a metadata stored in the database, but not showed in the public interface. But it depends. We can show. Why not? The question is not to pollute the interface with information that the end user will not understand. What means key 31, 13, 14? For the end user, it means nothing. So we can put this information in a private way. Only the manager can see. And if the manager decides to publish this information, he can do, because it's an option. If you transform a metadata in public or private, there's no problem. But our idea is to store this information in the database, and after storing, you can use this information to enrich the documentation. For example, collecting properties that you don't have in your documentation in steps before, when you are trying to develop your digital collection.
Thank you. I'm still, let me see. I noted, take notes. Okay. My question is about, for example, if I'm creating a digital collection for Coleção Santos Dumont, for example, and then I have metadata about the collection and the item, and I want to present, for example, these painting was created in Brazil. Can I show the information of the word Brazil and in a semantic way and not just text? Because I have from the database, I have the name Brazil in Portuguese, but if I'm aiming to a translatable collection, for example, and when a English-speaking user access this collection, they can see the information in a semantic way translated to English, for example. And the link, for me, the link we do today to present some items are on the metadata apps that we developed, is to store the key ID of this mapping that we did, and then go to the API to get the label on the user language. Is that something similar, or some way to do this? Present the data in English or Portuguese, depending on the user, and choose language chosen.
It can be done, Éder. It can be done. It's not a. If you have the link from the unique identifier from this entity in Wikidata stored in your database, to consult this link and collect information about the translated properties that you have in documentation, it's quite easy. It's not a problem, because it's only transfer information from properties and key IDs. The question is if this is a feature that we will develop in this first moment or not. We are not certain about that, because we are in the very beginning. We develop a project. We are trying to find some funding about to develop this initiative, and we develop a project, and we will present this project to the FAPESP Foundation here in Brazil, which is a public foundation that funds scientific projects. and we have an open call to the whole country, and we from University of Brasilia, we can submit a proposal to this open call. And we develop a project in partnership with Museu Paulista, and our idea is to develop a project which will continue by 2 years, and in these 2 years, the idea is to understand in a very specific way which features we'll develop, which is the most important features for the user. Because here in Brazil, I could say that our most important feature, the most important thing that we are trying to arrive, it's a way to diffuse the cultural information in a more open way, because people don't know that exists a digital collection inside a museum. We publish their digital collections, but the use of these digital collections is not something that the end user knows. The professors, the students, and the whole people. So the most important for us is to put this information in the whole web, to the information to circulate and be shared. And this is why we are very, very interested in using these wiki ecosystems to arrive at Wikipedia and be viewed by the most number of users that we can. So it can be done, but I don't know if we will do in the next years.
Okay, thank you. I think if we don't have any more questions, we can wrap it up. I think this Wikidata Lab and the previous ones about the round-tripping process of GLAM institutions on using the Wikimedia projects, especially Wikidata and Wikimedia Commons, the structured data on Commons specifically for media files, and the metadata from Wikidata and the media files from Wikimedia Commons. I think it's very important that we get together and share the information. That's why we organize these Wikidata Labs with Andrew, Richard, and Susanna, and now you, Dalton. And we will continue to work around this topic. This topic is the main thing on GlamWiki projects on our mind, at least, because this is a central part of the future of these kind of projects. You have to be open and linked, because the internet, if you refuse, for example, to integrate your data with other projects, not exactly Wikidata and Wikimedia Commons, but especially open projects, I think personally that you are limiting your collection to your language, your small bubble. So to break the bubble and spread to the internet and achieve the full potential for the institution, I think this kind of initiative for the data round tripping, metadata round tripping, it's very important. And I think we are in the beginning. Everyone is in the beginning. There are few institutions doing this. And I think these Wikidata Labs can have the potential to help or guide this discussion on other people that are doing this in other directions and other projects, and getting everyone together. I think it's beneficial for everyone. So thank you, Dalton, for this amazing presentation. It was very enlightening to see the Tainacan from this perspective around tripping. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to discuss with you guys. Thank you.
I think we have another question, the last minute question from Gabriel. How do you organize these activities around Tainacan research group at UNB Lab?
Okay. We have a research group at University of Brasilia, which is called Intelligence Networks Lab. And we are almost 20 people working together between undergraduate students and PhD students and technicals, developers, and another professors from different universities. We are working together. And we have a very, very intense dynamic. We have 2 or 3 meetings per week, and we organize our work. We have different projects. We work with public institutions as Brazilian Institute of Museums, National Foundation of Arts, and public institutions that are using Tainacan and the results of our research. But we are mainly based in the public university, the University of Brasilia, with a research group.
Okay, I think it's answered. Thank you, Dalton. Thank you all. See you. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.